Hello guys, so if you are new or you are not familiar with the PhoenixFD plugin, so this is quick introduction for you so that you will feel comfortable with the plugin. It's not a complicated plugin, it's the opposite, it's an easy and intuitive one. So I'm trying to be quick and give you a quick introduction, okay? First of all, before you start dealing with the PhoenixFD, you need to make sure of one thing, which is the measurement. You need to go to unit setup and make sure that you are using real world measurement. For here I'm using centimeter, okay? This one, system units, is the most important. You can bring it here centimeter also. So I'm using centimeter and centimeter here. That's important because the simulation is based on the real physics, and the real physics is based on real measurement or real units. Okay, that's the first thing you need to keep in mind. The second thing, which is, in order to generate fire or liquid, I mean to generate a fluid, you need two things. You need a container. First, let's talk about fluid, about fire, and it's the same thing for fluids. Or for liquids, I mean, because both are fluid simulation. Okay, we need a container. So the container has one job, which is, actually it has a lot of, but the main role for the container is to limit the area of calculation, of simulation. That's the main purpose of. So now when we simulate, so PhoenixFD knows that he needs to calculate inside this area. And the unit to measure this accuracy inside this area is called voxels. It's like pixel, but it is like three-dimensional, which is, you can see. So this is the this is the accuracy of the simulation that will be inside. Of course, if we go here and we go to grid, we can see that cell size allows you to change the simulation. Of course, it will be heavy. A lot heavier if you make them so small, but usually for final simulation you need to go like to 20 millions or so. So we go like here, so you can see they are small, it's very small, so the simulation will be very accurate, but also the time to calculate this will be like insane, especially like when you can read here the total cells are not real at all. Maybe like this, that will be very real. Okay. To start, I like to start the simulation with 2 millions and also just here. It's not very bad quality and it's not that higher, so that's the recommended number to start with. You can go lower, it's okay, especially when you are starting. Okay, so the first thing we need the grid, which is this one, the container. The second thing we need the PhoenixFD source. So source is where the object that emits the fire. So the fire cannot start from an empty space. We need an object. Of course, we can pick any object. Usually we pick a standard primitive here. We pick like a circle, a sphere. Okay. So you make sure that the object that is going to emit is inside, because if it's outside, of course, the calculation only happens inside. That's all. Now we need to define that object. We go here and we try like emitter nodes. We need objects to emit from, so we add this one. That's all. Without touching anything, we can start simulating. To start simulate, you need to click the button here, simulate. Of course, it simulates, but usually you need to pick this one, especially if you have multiple, so to know what to simulate. Of course, we stop it here. So now you can see the simulation is there and it looks kinda good. So we have something here, but we are not seeing fire. Most of the tutorials that PhoenixFD you see the fire real display or visualization of the fire. So in order to get that look, we go to preview here, we scroll down and we go for enable in viewport. Of course, you need to have a bit of a modest, or at least a modest GPU. So now we are seeing the fire. So that's it. Of course, we need to keep the simulation in order to see it to the end. So here, that's it, you got your fire. But of course we got a lot of here of settings, and this is quick overview, so I will try to focus on the most important. Okay, so this is, let's start from the emitter itself, which is the easiest one. It has not a lot of settings or options here. Here we have already used, so this one is to pick, how to say, to pick the emitter source. Here, of course, if you want the source to be like on the surface or from the inside, this usually good with liquid. The liquid, the same thing. So you pick the liquid container and you pick the liquid source. Here we got the noise. If you want, like first we got the outgoing velocity. It's the speed of the fire going up. We can reduce it to get less. Always, of course, this take. So you can see we got a slow outgoing compared to what we had before. It was 10. Okay, so you can see here, this is the outgoing velocity. Here we got the temperature, which is the fire that will generate the smoke as well. So here the fire, if we try to reduce it, we'll get no fire. So the temperature has to be high in order to get the fire. You can see the fire disappears completely by reducing this one. If we bring it to 3000, you can see now the fire is back. So the temperature needs to be a bit high to get that fire. Okay, so you can reduce it, you play with it, and you see when it fades up. Of course, you can help yourself with the settings going to the PhoenixFD documentation. It has a lot of information there, and it's easy to read one line of definition and you are ready to go with the settings more. Here we got the smoke. If we try to delete the cache and stop, delete the cache, let's go back. So let's bring this one to 1000 here. We can disable the smoke. Okay, we can make it like this, so the smoke is heavy, but of course we can even disable the smoke and we still get some smoke. We don't get the smoke because the smoke is controlled, but anyway, some features you need to resimulate after enabling. So we got the smoke here. The quantity of the smoke, if you want to increase it, so you can see we'll get more smoke here and so on. So these two are temperature and smoke, and this is like the value of them, so you need to play with the settings. That's it. Okay, let's talk about the fuel. So the fuel gives kind of different result. It's like, you know, using the fuel, then you start burning. It's good like for fire starting. Like you put some fuel on the ground, that you burn it and you feel that effect, the fire is just traveling before going up. So this kind of effect is really good, and the fuel is good with explosions as well. So if we select the fuel, we disable the smoke temperature, we keep the fuel, we go like here and we simulate. The simulation goes on, but we see nothing. So we cannot see a thing here, but I can assure you that the fuel is there. But in order to see it, we need first to stop the simulation. Okay, we need to go to the grid, we need to go to preview, and we disable for this both, so we can see the fuel. So this is preview to visualize on the viewport. We can also disable the enable in viewport, so we see the fuel here. Of course we can do it as well with the smoke, because if you remember, by default we got temperature and this one was disabled, but when we enable this one, those will be disabled without, you know, they won't be showing on the screen. So we disable this one, we keep only like the fuel, but also it won't work because we need to go to output here, and we make sure that PhoenixFD output the fuel, and by default we usually also output the velocity in case of motion blur and so on. So we need this one. If you want the color, you need also to output the RGB if you want different colors, like using the RGB color and so on. Okay, but we need those here to be as output. Here if we simulate again, so we are seeing something. Of course this is not showing, there is nothing on the viewport, but there is something calculated here, which is the fuel, as you can see. So we got some fuel here charging there, and of course we can trigger this fuel to burn and to start burning by playing with the settings, which are here. So the settings for burning the fuel are here. Fuel, they are under the grid and fuel. If we say enable burning, and of course we need to see the GPU preview here, so to see, okay, of course let's here and let's go. Of course, come on, can do better. Okay, so I'm trying to stop it, then going back. Of course, now it worked. So the fuel is there, but it's not burning because this one needs to be lower than 4,000. Now temperature fuel, we need maybe to like enable GPU preview. So the fuel is there, but still we got nothing. Let's lower it, and you can see that the fire starts to burn. So with this parameter you can control when the fuel burns or not, so depending on the temperature. Of course now we can like make the temperature a bit high, so the fuel stops burning. Okay, so this is how you control. Of course here's the energy, how fast, how and those propagation and so on, the smoke dissipation. Of course the best place to look for the definition of those parameters is the official website, and they are defined in 2 lines, 3 lines. That's it. You need just to read quickly to understand better. Then of course even if you read, it won't, sometimes it won't give you sense, it won't make any sense. So you need to try yourself. You come here, you do like I'm doing here, it's just easy, and you start playing. So here you see the fuel is there, but as soon as I lower the temperature below a number, it was below 3, actually they say it's below 300, it starts burning because the fuel is already there. And we can show the fuel. Let's disable those, and you can see the fuel is there, and the fuel starts to burn when we triggered the ignition here, and boom, we got this one, and it's kind of cool to give this effect. Okay, this is for the fuel and all the settings.